All guests of Night After Night are ensconced in the palatial opulence that is the Mobley Hotel. Come on down to Short Weasel, New Jersey, and park your carcass in our 16.5 deluxe units, now featuring the bottomless cup of tang and soap. The Mobley. Back to you, Allan.
Thank you, Nick Bakay. My next guest tonight is a Tony Award-winning actor. You can see him every week in Evening Shade, and he's appearing in the new movie, The Fisher King. Please welcome Michael Jeter. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. Welcome to Night After Night. How's everything going at the Mobley?
Oh, it's lovely. I just had a little trouble sleeping last night.
Why is that?
I don't know. There was somebody in the room up above me, and she was just a little loud. All night long, I kept hearing, Eddie, Eddie, oh, Eddie.
That's it? You didn't find out? Well, you know, there's only one floor, so that might have been the roof.
Might have been.
Well, welcome back to New York.
Thank you.
And you've got the dream career here. You're in a hit TV show. You got a Tony Award under your belt. And you're in the hit movie, and everybody's talking about your character in this thing. I mean, I haven't seen the film yet, so I'm not going to lie to you, but everybody, oh, this guy Michael Jeter, he's terrific. Tell us a little bit about the part.
The part is, he's a homeless, failed cabaret singer, a gay guy, who Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges find on the bridle path in Central Park. He's just been beaten up by a gang of kids. You know, one of those little gangs of brutes that runs around in the park.
So things are not going well for him.
Oh, no, he's having a tough time of it. And they pick him up, they take him to an emergency room, and in the course of this, he becomes rather enamored of Jeff Bridges. And later, they hire him to do a singing telegram to a girl that Robin Williams' character is in love with. And he does it as Ethel Merman. And then later, he is, you know, he's pretty much, the last scene, I suppose, that you see him in, it's the scene that pretty much, I think, epitomizes the attitude of the public toward the homeless people in New York, you know. Let's just turn away.
Now, you live in New York.
Yeah, 14 years I've lived here.
Now, have you ever been a cabaret singer?
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how to begin. I just put on a couple of old albums of Gypsy and opened my mouth and pushed and, you know, hoped for the best.
Now, did you have to audition for this role, or did they say, hey, Michael, here you go?
I did an interview for the role. Howard Fewer, the man who cast the movie, he cast me in my first job in New York, which was the movie Hair.
With Milos Forman directing?
Right. And over the years, he's called me in now and then. And coincidentally, the night before the interview with Terry Gilliam for this part, I was on the IRT, the 1 train. And at one of the stops, this guy got on the train. He could have been Truman Capote's younger brother. Looked just like Truman Capote, except he'd been obviously beaten up a few days before. He was obviously, you know, a very effeminate man. Yeah, he had plucked out all of his eyebrows. He had a little yarn cap on. He had some blue eyeshadow above his eyes. His fingernails were painted, and he was smoking what looked like a Virginia Slim. And he sat down right next to a guy in a gray Brooks Brothers suit who was reading the Wall Street Journal. And it's obvious that he found the guy attractive, and he started kind of inching over, you know, toward the guy. And,
which happens on the subway all the time.
Which happens on the subway all the time, but he gets up next to him, puts his head over on the guy's shoulder, and he says, I'm Ann Morrow Lindbergh, and I can't find my baby. And the guy drops the newspaper, starts laughing, and he looks at the guy and goes, I knew I could make you smile. And so the next day at the interview, I told Terry Gilliam about that guy and played that guy, and he gave me this part in the movie.
Do you know how many actors now are going to be riding the subways tomorrow? In hopes, where is that guy with the plucked eyebrows?
Where's Truman's brother?
With a Lindbergh baby reference.
Yeah, but that's how it all sort of came about. And it turned out, originally in the screenplay, it was to have been a takeoff on the Willkommen number from Cabaret with Joel Grey. And I thought, no. The guy I saw on the subway would never aspire to be Joel Grey. He would go for the epitome, you know, of the American Broadway musical, and he'd want to be Merman.
Who did you aspire to be? Well, as a young actor, who are your role models or people you looked up to?
Gee, just about anybody who had a job.
Even as you turned away from the homeless on the street.
I don't know. There were a lot of guys that I liked a lot. You know, I'm obviously a character actor.
Do you like that? Do you like being a character?
I love it. I love it. You know, I think I'd be doing a lot of secretarial work if I was a leading man, I think.
Is that the kind of stuff you did? What kind of jobs did you have, like in New York, when you were hungry and things weren't going well?
Actually, I was able to kind of float myself pretty well on the jobs on working as an actor, fortunately. There was a period of time in the mid-'80s where I really wondered if I was supposed to be in this business, because things were going, you know, pretty bad at that time. And so I dropped out of the business for a couple of years. I taught myself to type, and I became a litigation secretary at a midtown law firm. And you know, I really was willing to give it up. I really, you know, thought, okay, if this is not supposed to be happening.
This is you've already done hair.
Oh yeah,
So,
you know, I had had.
People assume once you're in a hit movie and once you get a couple jobs, you can just roll that, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, you know, and I also had, you know, my decision to be an actor was at a time in my life when I was pretty screwed up, and I thought, well, as I'm, you know, kind of creeping death quick into middle age here, you know, I think I better stop and see if this indeed is something that really kind of, you know, is what I want to do. And I found out I don't want to be a secretary in a law firm. And then, I don't know, as soon as I became willing to sort of give it up completely, suddenly it just started happening, you know. Ass over elbow, I'm flying through this thing now.
Did it become more valuable to you once you stopped doing it? Did it become more attractive and you realized you wanted to do it, or?
No, actually, at the time, I was trying to think of, you know, at that time, I was about 35 years old. You know, I felt like a failed actor, a failed human being, you know, one of society's peripheral people. And I just thought, well, what can I do that would be a trade, a mobile trade, you know, that, you know, would give me work and that would be interesting and have a theatrical flair to it, and that would not require a great amount of, you know, schooling and not make it necessary for me to incur a huge education debt at that age. And I decided that I would go to embalming school and become an undertaker. And, well, it's got it all. It's got, you know, it's got makeup, it's got emoting, it's got limousines. You know.
I guess those are some of the perks.
And it's, you know, and it's, and I think the insincerity of the trade would have trained me for Hollywood.
Well, and we're going to take a look now at a clip from Fisher King.
Go right ahead.
And if you're going to place a failure, you might as well get paid for it, right?
Yeah.
Here's Michael Jeter and Fisher King.
But Lydia, you've won the grand prize.
Michael Jeter and the Fisher King looking damn good. Nice gams.
It's the shoes that did it, you know. They were an old pair of shoes from Dreamgirls. Loretta Devine wore them, and they sure do wonders for your calves.
Yeah, that's a real trooper, giving credit to the shoes. And you got to sneak the line in from the subway.
Yeah, well, that's one of the great things about Terry Gilliam, I think, and I think it was also a very generous gesture on the part of the screenwriter. When we went into rehearsal on the movie, like, you know, I mentioned in the rehearsal that I thought, you know, well, you know, if the guy had really wanted to be a big Broadway star, and he had really wanted to be, you know, a woman, I think it would have been Merman. And they said, well, I don't know if we can get the rights. And I had just finished working with Stephen Sondheim on the workshop production of Assassins. And so I called Sondheim and I said, I got this little part in this film. You know, would you mind if we played a little bit with some of the gypsy stuff? And he wanted to be able to okay the parody lyrics and stuff, and I had to get permission from Julie Stein, and Julie Stein was fair game for the whole thing, which again, very generous of these guys, you know, who are like institutions in the theater to say, yeah, you can fool around with my stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, and Gilliam, he liked the little story about the guy on the subway, so he incorporated that, put it into the little elevator scene. I don't know. It's making movies.
It's doing great. Well, I mean, look at it. You know, you almost gave up the business, and you won a Tony Award for Grand Hotel, and things are going great. What's coming up next for you?
I never say. Well, next week I'll go back to work on Evening Shade.
How's that going? That's got to be exciting. The show's doing well. Burt Reynolds got a... You were nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah.
And Burt Reynolds got an Emmy for that show.
Right.
How's his hand, by the way? I heard he burned himself. Is he okay?
I set fire to him. It was...
With a song?
No, actually, I wanted a spin-off, and, and he was the guy in the way. And I decided, having lived in New York for 14 years, I thought, what does a landlord do when he wants to collect on a building? You torch it. And so I set fire to Burt one night. Didn't work.
Well, I hope it works. Well, I hope maybe, it works out for you next time.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, from the #1 train to stardom, Michael Jeter. You can see him in The Fisher King and every... When is Evening Shade on?
Evening Shade's on Monday nights at 8 o'clock
Monday night.
on CBS.
On CBS, so you can watch that, and then you can watch Murphy Brown at 9, and then you can turn over and watch the football game. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay.
And then you can cut on HBO and watch.
Well, no, this isn't HBO.
Oh, it isn't?
No, this is partly owned by HBO, and partly owned by Viacom. This is Comedy Central. You're at... I don't know if you realize this, but right now you are at Comedy Central. It's not you're not on it. It's a place. We'll be right back after this.